Good morning, English students. I am creating this video to give you guys a really quick tutorial on how to use Word's commenting toolkit. We already did a version of this in class, but I'm not betting on everyone remembering that at this point. A lot has happened over the course of the semester. I am recording this. I think you guys can actually see because of the screen capture. Maybe you can't. On on March 21st, the day before the lockdown order essentially goes into effect for New York City. So, a lot's going on, and I know you guys are dealing with a lot right now, so I appreciate you keeping up with work and submitting papers. In order to create something akin to a workshop, I'm basically asking you to do a scaled down version of what I do for you when I give you guys feedback. I don't expect you to go as crazy as I go when I give you guys notes, um, but I'd like for you to actually read one another's papers and just make some brief markups about what you think is sort of like going well in a paper, what you think could be stronger, and just, yeah, kind of try to give one another the closest thing to a workshop experience that you can without necessarily being face to face. So the tools that will make this easiest for you are stored in Word, which you should all have access to because as BCC students, you have access to the full Microsoft Office suite, and Google Drive, which if you didn't bother activating your Word subscription as a BCC student and you now don't really want to deal with IT, you can use Google Drive to access a comparable toolkit. In some ways, it's actually superior. And yeah, no, both of these tools are fine. Google Drive has the advantage of you not needing to deal with school administration in order to navigate this tool set. So, this tutorial will very briefly orient you with each of these toolkits. Alright, so I'm using an older version of Word, so your user interface may look slightly different from mine, but you will always use the same named tabs in order to actually complete your review process. And that tab is the Review tab. So the first thing I'd recommend you do when you open up someone else's paper is click Track Changes. Track Changes will mark any changes you make to the paper that you are reviewing. So here, for instance, I have like crazy person vision when it comes to actually reading for grammatical errors, so that immediately sort of like messed with my head. Correcting errors like this will also come pretty naturally to you. And this just lets people see where they actually made mistakes that you corrected, so they don't just think like, oh yeah, no typos in that first paragraph at all. I'm pretty great. So these are the comments I think you should make least in a paper like this one. Mostly because everything I just did could have actually been caught by running a spell check on this paper. And by the way, if you are unsure of how to run spell check, you can see that spell check is actually located right here in this version. And it's usually also in, I think, the review tab of the current version of Microsoft Office 365 as well. All right, so that's one way you can leave feedback for people. The more helpful way to leave feedback for people is to actually highlight portions of a paper and then leave comments using the new comment feature. So here, as you can see, I highlighted this portion, click new comment, a small text box opened up on the side, and I can now type things into that. So here, so as you can see, I'm typing something that recognizes the effort that this student has put in while also giving them advice about how to further develop this paper. And by the way, guys, obviously this isn't one of your papers. This is from an English 112 class from about 2 years ago. So Yeah, your privacy is intact. Don't worry. Though, as you can see, I reuse the same readings quite a bit. So after you've made a comment, it will remain there. You can review it. You can edit it by clicking on it. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. So I'm presenting a second comment so that you guys can see that you can also kind of like flip around between comments if you want to see everything you've written. Word has a pretty robust toolkit. I find it pretty useful in giving you guys feedback on your papers. And this review tab is kind of invaluable in composing sort of remote feedback for your classmates. In the event that you want to just kind of leave the endnotes that I normally leave for you guys in one of your classmates' papers, all you really need to do is type up just sort of like something at the end of the paper using track changes so that what you are writing is visibly differentiated from what your classmate has written. So here, for instance, I would say type just the student's name and then my name at the end, and it's just retained that way. And this will even show up if someone opens this file in preview, which is one of the nice things about leaving endnotes. It's also a good way to comment holistically on the paper. If you were to use Google Drive to do this, you would do so through, I believe, the insert. Yeah, the insert tab allows you to insert comments. And as you can see, it does the exact same thing, except the metadata in Google's tags are it's a little bit clearer. When I say metadata, I mean you can see like when a comment was made, and you can see like the gap between comments, for instance. So, if you did want to leave endnotes in Google Drive, you could do so by actually inserting a giant comment at the end, if you really want to go for that, or you could just say type up your comments normally. And yeah, you can then save this file to disk by going to File and Download. I would recommend downloading it as a Microsoft Word document, although any of the first three formats here, .docx, .odt, or .rtf, will retain formatting and comments. .pdf is unmodifiable, so I would not recommend sending that to your classmates. And a plain text, HTML, and EPUB documents can sometimes lose information or just be impossible to open in the case of an EPUB document. So I wouldn't recommend using those either. So this was a really, really rapid overview. I imagine you may still have questions about just what I want you to do. Essentially, I just want you to read through one another's papers and just take maybe 15 minutes to comment on what you think the most substantial challenge that student is facing is, and to talk about what you think they're doing right, so that they have a sense of where to go with their final draft. Um, Obviously, this is a lot, but I know you guys can pull this off. And it has the upside of you not having to read your papers aloud, which I'm sure you guys are really psyched about. If you have any questions about this video or this process in general, please let me know. I'm here to help, and I hope you all are healthy and safe right now. Goodbye.